The sky roared with thunder, and the rain poured down in thick sheets, soaking Sam to the bone. He stumbled over jagged rocks, the wind howling in his ears like a beast on the hunt. Everywhere he looked, the relentless waves crashed against the island's rocky shore, leaving him feeling utterly trapped. "Where can I go?" he muttered to himself, his voice barely audible against the storm. His heart pounded in his chest as fear gripped him. He had never felt so alone. Just as he was about to give up, his eyes caught a faint flicker of light in the distance. Squinting through the rain, he made out the outline of a small, weathered cabin perched precariously on the edge of a cliff. Desperation pushed him forward, his feet slipping on the wet ground as he raced toward the faint promise of safety. By the time he reached the door, his breath came in ragged gasps. He hesitated for a moment, unsure if anyone would hear him. Gathering his courage, he knocked 3 times. Sam stepped cautiously into the dimly lit cabin, the warm glow from a crackling fire offering him a small reprieve from the storm's chaos. The old woman gestured toward a chair near the hearth. "Sit down, young man," she said, her voice steady and calm. "Thank you," Sam replied, his teeth chattering. He sat, gripping the mug of tea she handed him, its heat seeping into his frozen fingers. For the first time that night, he exhaled deeply. "What brings you to my door?" the woman asked, her kind eyes fixed on him. I'm lost," Sam admitted, staring into the fire. "I don't know how to get off this island. I don't even know how I got here." The old woman nodded knowingly. "You carry more than the storm's burden, don't you?" Sam hesitated. "I've been failing at everything. I feel like I'm sinking in quicksand." The woman leaned forward. "There's a way to leave this place, but it requires courage and trust. There is a bridge, invisible to the eye, but solid for those who believe." Sam frowned. "A bridge? Invisible? That sounds impossible." The storm still raged outside as the old woman led Sam to the door. Her lantern flickered in the wind as they stepped out into the darkness. "Follow me," she said firmly, her voice cutting through the storm's roar. Sam hesitated, but the urgency in her voice pushed him forward. The rocky path was slippery beneath his feet, and the rain stung his face, but the woman moved with confidence. "Where are we going?" Sam asked, raising his voice above the storm. "To the bridge," she replied simply, not looking back. They walked for what felt like an eternity, until they reached a clearing at the edge of a cliff. Below, the waves crashed violently against the rocks, but in the distance, Sam could barely make out the faint shimmer of another shore. "This is the place," the woman said, stopping abruptly. Sam looked around, confused. "I don't see any bridge," he said, frustration creeping into his voice. "That's because you're not meant to see it," she explained. "Close your eyes, Sam." "What?" "Close your eyes and take a step forward. Trust me, trust yourself," she said softly. Sam's hands shook as he closed his eyes. His heart pounded, every fiber of his being screaming at him to stop. But then he heard her voice again. "Breathe. You'll feel the bridge beneath you." Tentatively, Sam lifted his foot and placed it forward. To his astonishment, it landed on something solid. He gasped. "It's there!" he whispered, opening his eyes. The woman smiled. Now keep going. You're stronger than you think. As Sam took another step, a faint sense of hope began to rise within him, even as the storm continued to rage around him. As Sam moved carefully across the invisible bridge, the storm seemed to grow angrier. The wind howled, whipping against his face, and the rain stung his skin like needles. He clung to the belief that the bridge was there, but with each step, his doubts crept in. What if it disappears? Sam whispered to himself, his voice trembling. His knees began to wobble, and his breathing quickened. For the first time, he dared to look down, and his stomach churned at the sight of the raging waves far below. The bridge beneath his feet shuddered, and Sam froze. "I can't do this," he shouted, his voice barely audible over the storm. "I'm going to fall." From the other side of the bridge, the woman's voice reached him like a lifeline. "Sam, listen to me. The bridge is not the one shaking, it's your faith. Believe in yourself." Sam closed his eyes, trying to block out the storm, and her words repeated in his mind. "The strength is in you." Taking a deep breath, he steadied himself. Slowly, one step at a time, he moved forward. The bridge stopped shaking, and Sam felt a flicker of hope reigniting in his chest. The rain began to ease as Sam moved closer to the other side of the bridge. His steps, once hesitant and shaky, now carried a quiet determination. Each step felt lighter, and the storm's fury seemed to wane with his growing confidence. Ahead, a soft, golden light began to pierce through the gray skies, illuminating a distant shore covered in lush greenery. Sam squinted, his heart lifting at the sight. The old woman's voice drifted to him, steady and calm. "Do you feel it, Sam? The strength within you?" "Yes," he replied, his voice filled with a newfound conviction. "I think I do." The bridge beneath his feet, once invisible and uncertain, felt as solid as the ground itself. He no longer worried about falling. Instead, he focused on the warm light ahead, each step a victory over his doubts. As Sam reached the end of the bridge, he glanced back. To his astonishment, the bridge had vanished, leaving nothing but the open air behind him. He turned to the old woman, who now stood beside him. She smiled softly and said, "You cannot return to your fears, Sam. They are no longer part of you." Sam stood on the solid ground of the new shore, the storm now a distant memory. The island before him was a vibrant contrast to the bleakness he had left behind. Lush trees swayed gently in the breeze, and the sunlight warmed his face. The old woman appeared beside him, her expression serene. "You've crossed more than the bridge, Sam. You've crossed your doubts," she said softly. Sam smiled, feeling a lightness in his chest he hadn't known before. "Thank you," he said. She nodded. "Now go. The journey ahead is yours to make." And with that, Sam walked forward, ready to embrace his newfound strength. Now tell us below your vision of the parable, if it was easy and if you want to see any others here. Thank you for getting here. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and activate the notification bell so you don't miss any more new videos. Until next time, bye.